Hi friends, and welcome back. If you are new here, I am Miranda, otherwise known as the Magical Miranda, and I am here to help make your trip to Walt Disney World the best and most magical it can be. So today, I thought I would kick off my first video of 2020 with a really important video, especially for the first timers visiting the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. And that is the biggest mistakes that you can make before going to Walt Disney World, while you're at Walt Disney World, anything that you think, oh, you know what, I don't need to do that, or oh, I have an idea that could probably not be a great one. So I'm going to let you know what I personally think are the biggest mistakes that people visiting Walt Disney World for the first time tend to make. So without further ado, let's get started. Here we go. Okay, I want to preface this by saying these are my personal opinions. If you don't agree with me, that is completely fine. You are entitled to your own opinion, but these are what I think. Anybody, even if it's a not first timer, like I still think these are mistakes that I tend to make, and it makes for my trip to be a little more chaotic, a little more stressful, and not as like magically packed as it can be. The number one mistake that people tend to make is not being prepared. Even if you're not a first timer, but you've been to Walt Disney World back in like 1995 or maybe even the early 2000s, something to note is that everything is different and everything is always changing. So the biggest mistake that you can make is to not be prepared. What does this mean? Well, for example, at Walt Disney World, you can make advanced dining reservations for any like sit down or what they call table service restaurants 180 days in advance. That is 6 months in advance. And yes, some of the reservations go incredibly quickly, like so fast. And another thing to note is that if you do want to sit down and dine at a restaurant, you need an advanced dining reservation. Like, you need one. You can always venture up and ask for a table, but chances are you are either going to be waiting a very long time or they will turn you away. So you need an advanced dining reservation for your vacation. Be prepared for those. And you have to be prepared at that 6-month mark because they will fill up and you don't want to be spending every other day for the next 6 months looking to see if something has opened or using one of like the many websites that gives you an alert if things open. You don't want that type of stress. So just be ready at that 180-day mark. Along with fast passes, if you are staying on Walt Disney World property, you are able to make Fast Pass Plus selections 60 days in advance for your entire trip, up to 10 days. So what does that mean? That means that you get to select your 3 fast passes per day 60 days ahead of when you're there. I highly recommend doing that, especially if you are going for the first time. Now, I go quite often, and so sometimes I don't even make fast passes, but it makes it way more stressful on my park day to have my app open and to constantly refresh it to try and get the fast pass selection that I want. So I recommend being prepared at that 60-day mark, knowing what you want, having backups in case they're taken, because everything is planned in advance. And once you wrap your head around that and know that you have to be prepared, you are setting yourself up for success. Mistake number 2 that I think, I know people are like, this is my vacation, I'm on vacation. And I'm like, great, amazing. I think the biggest mistake is sleeping in. There, I said it. I know people who are like, well, I'm on vacation, I'm going to sleep in. Great. You are not going to make the most of your park day. That's all I'm gonna say. The biggest mistake that I personally think is sleeping in on your Walt Disney World vacation. If sleep is very important to you, I recommend building in an extra day that you plan on hanging out at your resort, hanging out at the pool, maybe going to Disney Springs later in the afternoon. but definitely do not sleep in on days you plan to go to a Walt Disney World theme park. And I mean like 8:30 a.m., that's sleeping in, girl. I always say rope drop, rope drop, rope drop. If you are a Walt Disney World first timer, being there when the park opens is the most important because that is when the least amount of people are going to be in the park. A lot of people do sleep in because they are on vacation. They don't want to wake up early. They have kids that don't want to wake up early. And I know sometimes it may be difficult, but I personally think that sleeping in can hinder a full, fun, packed day. You can get so much done in the early morning, go back to the resort in the afternoon and take a nap, and then come back for nighttime festivities. I always recommend getting there first thing in the morning. You can sleep when you're dead is what I always say. Though I did like average maybe 5 hours of sleep when I was there last week, and I'm still catching up. But you know what? That's fine. We're fine. I'm surviving, okay? The third mistake that you can make is not packing correctly. Now, Orlando, Florida is I don't even know how to explain the Orlando weather. She could be 80 one day and 40 the next. You truly never know. So making sure that you are looking ahead at the weather, being prepared, knowing what 75 degrees feels like. I don't know if, like I live in Iowa and currently it's like 2 degrees out. Hold on. Okay, Google, what's the temperature out?
The temperature in Clive right now is 0 degrees.
Oh.
Due to current wind conditions, it feels like it's -20.
That's awesome. I love my life. It's 0 degrees outside. I don't remember what 75 degrees feels like. Am I hot? Am I cool? Is that breezy? Like, what does that feel like? Truly don't know. It's the middle of January and it's never-ending winter here. So just being prepared of what your body needs. Also, it will always rain. It will at least rain for at least 10 minutes during some part of your trip. So I recommend being prepared. Ponchos are your friend. Umbrellas kind of get in the way, but whatever makes you happy, I guess. But I always say a poncho is the best, especially with a hood or a rain jacket with a hood, because then you can just keep powering through and not let the rain mess up your vacation, because it is the middle of Florida. It's a swamp, so it tends to rain a lot. Don't bring your brand new shoes that you're trying to break in. That is a bad idea. Your feet will hurt. You will get blisters. You will bleed. Speaking from experience, it's fine. If you're going in the middle of August, not the best time I recommend, but sometimes it's the only time that works. Extra shirts for your days because you're going to be sweating a lot. Do you chafe? Having body glide or baby powder, extra deodorant, sunscreen, all of these things that you need to be incredibly prepared. And side note, I do have like a packing guide that I recently made on my website. I think I've mentioned it on some of my videos before, maybe not, but I'll link that in the box below. It's a packing guide that I've made for not only when you're visiting like Disney parks, but just all over, that I hope would be helpful for some people, because that's what I use when I pack to go on vacations. So I'll link that below. But just being prepared with your clothes, with your shoes, not overthinking, not trying to look cute every day. The fourth mistake you can make is over planning. Now that is coming from someone who plans vacations as a side hustle, but you cannot think that you are going to go to Walt Disney World and do everything. So just let that go. It is an entire world. It's a world. No one is gonna get that done in the length of their vacation. There is always something new to do when you're there. There are so many attractions. There are so many restaurants. There are so many nooks and crannies in the Walt Disney World Resort that you are not going to see them all. So just let that go. Know that you're not going to get everything done and be okay with that. I know, especially if you're like, I have one trip with my family, it's a one and done type of thing, then make sure you hit those highlights and make sure you have some extra time to enjoy being in the moment and seeing what things come up on your trip. Like, for example, if you're walking and you say, oh, let's go in here, make sure you plan for those extra moments, because you don't want to be to a strict schedule, especially if you're only going to be there one time. You want to take in those moments and memories. But there's so much to do, and it's really hard to see it all. So just know that you're not going to do it all, and that's okay. For goodness sake, I feel like I go once every other month and I'm doing something new every time I'm there, which blows my mind. Blows my mind. It's just ever changing, it's ever evolving, and there's so many things that you don't know are out there until you really take that time to explore. Mistake number 5. Thinking that you are going to go during a slow season, so that means you don't have to wait in any lines. If you go to Walt Disney World thinking, I have my fast passes, I have this, I have that, I don't have to wait, girl, you are in for a rude awakening. You will wait no matter what. You have a fast pass? Great. You are going to wait in a shorter line. It's not going to be a 2-hour long wait, but it will be a wait. You will be standing in lines. So just be prepared for that. If you aren't going during a slow season, you're going during a holiday season, which to each their own, not my favorite time to go, but sometimes that's all people have to plan their vacations. Just be prepared that there are going to be a ton of people. There are going to be a ton of wait times. The biggest thing is that you have to prepare, like I said for my first tip, be prepared, have what you have in advance, have your 3 fast passes per day, have a good plan going in, waking up early, but also knowing that even then you will most likely be waiting. You are not going to walk on to every attraction. So I recommend downloading the Disney Parks Play app where you can play games or kids can play games, having snacks in your bag in case somebody gets hungry or thirsty, having some water, just knowing that you're going to wait at least a little bit during your time there, and I think that will be much better. Lines are not fun. Like, people don't like to stand and wait in line. But what's great about Walt Disney World is they do make a lot of interactive cues. So there's something to look at, there's something to play with. There's always something that you can be doing. I know a lot of people download the game Heads Up on their phones or their iPads that they like to play in line, or they just like to talk to each other. Like if you're on day 3 with your family, that's a really good time waiting in line to ask them, what's your favorite part so far? What do you want to do next? Taking that time to really embrace who you are with, putting down technology or using technology to your advantage. Now, there are many, many more mistakes that you can make. Like, just going off cuff here. Not using your dining credits to the best of your ability if you have the Disney dining plan, buying a ton of merchandise on day 1 and not knowing that you can send it to your resort hotel or even ship it back home. There are so many little mistakes that you can make, which leads me to my 6th biggest mistake that you can make going to Walt Disney World for the first time, and that is not booking with a travel agent who specializes in Disney destinations. I cannot stress this enough, and that's not just because I am a travel agent who specializes in Disney destinations, but also if you are going for the first time and you have no idea, you don't know, use a travel agent, especially one that doesn't cost you anything. I cost you nothing, literally nothing, and they do everything for you. They find the best prices for you. They book the room for you. They call Disney if there's anything wrong with your reservation. They ask you what you want, and based on your answers, they make your dining reservations, they make your FastPass Plus reservations, and then they also make you an itinerary for your park days based on what your family's wants and needs are. Now, not every travel agency does this. My travel agency does, and we do not cost you a single dime. It is the same price as if you were to go directly through WaltDisneyWorld.com or DisneyWorld.com and book your vacation. It does not cost you anymore. It's the same prices that you are seeing. But a lot of travel concierges, again, don't cost you any money, but they go this extra level to make sure that you know everything you need to know going to Walt Disney World for the first time. And if questions arise during your vacation or before, they're there to answer them for you. So you have your personal concierge at your fingertips for no extra cost. So I think that is the biggest tip I can say. Am I not recording? Oh, I am. I was like, have I been talking for 20 minutes and not recording? I'm struggling. Back to what I was saying. That is my biggest tip, is if you are just so overwhelmed, find a travel agent to help you. Again, there are so many that don't cost you a single thing, and they're there to help make your trip the most magical it can be. Because who wants the stress of waking up at, what time? 6 a.m. Eastern time for dining reservations, and I'm on Central time, so I'm like trying to figure out 6 a.m. Eastern time for dining reservations, 7 a.m. Eastern time for fast pass reservations, calling Disney if a promo comes up and trying to apply it to your vacation. These are things that you don't want to do. You have lives, you're busy. Let them do everything. So if you are planning to go to Walt Disney World for the first time, for the 10th time, and you're like, I'm a pro, I know what I want, cool. If you don't want to wake up that early, still, or like, even if you just want to help out a small business, book with a travel agent. You still have the capability of doing all of those things, booking dining, booking fast passes on your own, even through going with a travel agent. And I know there are some agencies that will still like give you recommendations, but they have you do everything. And that's fine too, whatever you want. But I know my personal agency and me personally as a travel agent will do all of that for you, unless you specifically say, you know what, I want the thrill of waking up and trying to get those dining reservations. Awesome, more power to you. I'm here if you need me. I'll also be awake in case your system goes down and I can help. Things like that. So that is my #1 mistake. I feel like these are all like #1 mistake. There are so many mistakes. There are so many things to go into a Walt Disney World vacations, because it's not, hey, let's go to Walt Disney World. Just show up and see what happens, because it'll be a lot more stressful if you do that. You can absolutely do that. You can still show up and say, we're going this weekend, and kind of figure it out by ear. Because there are last minute dining reservations, there are last minute fast pass selections that you can make, but it may not be everything that you want to do. So I hope that was incredibly helpful, or maybe it's like, I know this, that's fine. Maybe you just need to hear it in a different light, or whatever it may be. But I hope it was at least helpful to some of you, especially if you are planning to go to Walt Disney World for the very first time, which is so exciting. I love that place, and again, like every time I go, it's something new and something magical, and I have yet to have a bad vacation there, even when things don't go the way that they're planned. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for all the fun Disney tips and tricks. Also, make sure you follow me on Instagram and Facebook at The Magical Miranda, where I share lots of fun posts about Disney and magicalness is probably not a word, but any fun news that you need to know coming to the Walt Disney World Resort, and also Disneyland Resort in California. I want to know if you guys have any tips and tricks on the biggest mistakes that maybe you've encountered on vacations. Drop them below. I would love to know any other ones. Like I said, those are just like 6. There are so many other mistakes that you can make, but those are my biggest ones that I think that you need to know going to Walt Disney World. All right, thank you guys again, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.